You ever notice how science fiction seems to ask our biggest questions about technology, like way before we even know to ask them? It gives us these amazing thought experiments, letting us wrestle with the future before it even gets here. And when you're talking about artificial intelligence, honestly, nobody did it better than Star Trek. And look, AI isn't just a sci-fi fantasy anymore. I mean, it is a massive part of our daily lives. It's in your phone, it's helping with medical diagnoses, it's shaping the news you see. It is literally everywhere.
But here's the thing. There is a huge difference between the AI that's figuring out your next playlist and the kind of artificial mind we see in a character like Data. And understanding that difference, well, that's the key to the incredible ethical journey we are all just starting.
All right, so let's break this down. The entire debate, the whole conversation around machine intelligence really boils down to this one fundamental idea, the difference between what we call weak AI and strong AI.
Okay, so weak AI is what we've got right now. It's an unbelievably powerful tool that's great at simulating human intelligence for very specific, narrow jobs. Think of it as a super sophisticated pattern matcher. Strong AI, though, that's the holy grail, right? The theoretical dream of a machine that doesn't just pretend to think, but actually is a mind, a true consciousness.
And this is where Star Trek gets so good, because it's basically the perfect laboratory for exploring what would happen if we actually created strong AI. It makes us ask the big one. If we're going to build a mind, how in the world do we build its conscience?
In the Star Trek universe, they have an answer for that. It's something called ethical subroutines. And you can think of these as basically a machine's built-in moral compass, a conscience written in code designed to steer its decisions.
And this whole idea, well, it didn't just come out of nowhere. The blueprint for this was laid out by the absolute legend Isaac Asimov and his famous 3 laws of robotics. I mean, these were pretty much the first serious attempt to create an ethical rulebook to keep humanity safe from its own creations.
Now, in Star Trek, we get to see these ideas pushed to their limits through 2 of the most compelling artificial life forms ever created. You've got the android Data in The Next Generation and the Emergency Medical Hologram, or EMH, from Voyager. Both of these characters are on a constant journey, battling with the meaning and the boundaries of their programming.
So, why are these ethical safeguards so incredibly important? To really get it, to feel the stakes, you have to look at the dark side. What happens when that moral compass gets completely shattered?
And there is no better or more terrifying example than Data's own brother, Lore. He's an earlier model, looks exactly the same, built by the same guy. But Lore was created without those stable ethical constraints. That made him jealous, unstable, and just dangerously selfish. He's the perfect dark mirror to everything Data stands for.
This all comes to a head in the Descent episodes. Lore, driven by this intense jealousy, figures out a way to switch off Data's ethical programming, and the change is instantaneous and it's terrifying. The heroic, unbelievably loyal Data is suddenly capable of doing these cruel, awful experiments on his best friends. He turns from a trusted ally into a monster. It's a bone-chilling look at what intelligence without a conscience really is.
Okay, so all of this throws us right into the deep end of the pool, philosophically speaking. Even if you get the ethical programming perfect, can a machine, a piece of software, ever truly be conscious? Can it really understand anything?
The philosopher John Searle famously argued, "No way." His point was that even the most advanced AI is just shuffling symbols around based on a set of rules. He called it syntax. He argued it has no real understanding, no genuine intention, none of what he called the causal powers of a real biological brain. For Searle, a computer is just playing a really, really convincing game of make-believe.
But then, how does an argument like Searle's account for a character like the Emergency Medical Hologram? In one episode, he has to make an impossible choice, save one of 2 patients, both with an equal shot at survival. He chooses to save his friend Harry Kim, and the other person dies. Afterwards, he is so completely wrecked by guilt and doubt that his entire program starts to collapse, stuck in this horrible feedback loop. I mean, does that sound like just shuffling symbols, or does that sound a lot like genuine moral pain? So, Searle's skepticism on one hand and the doctor's breakdown on the other, this highlights a massive debate that has jumped from the pages of science fiction right into our world. As our own AI gets more and more powerful, how should we even begin to think about building artificial moral agents, or AMAs?
You've basically got 2 main camps. On one side, you have scholars like Friedman and Kahn. They've argued for a more passive kind of wait-and-see approach. Their point is we just don't know enough yet to safely build morality into a machine. But on the other side, you've got researchers like Colin Allen and his team who argue that waiting is probably the most dangerous thing we could possibly do.
And their argument is a really powerful call to action. They're basically saying, look, this train has already left the station. The development of more and more autonomous AI is happening whether we like it or not. So we have a profound moral duty to be proactive and start designing these ethical frameworks right now, before the tech gets way ahead of our ability to manage it.
And this is where the lessons from a TV show that's decades old suddenly feel more relevant than ever. Star Trek isn't just telling cool stories. It's handing us a series of incredibly important warnings.
I mean, this future might be closer than any of us think. The futurist Ray Kurzweil, who's a huge believer in strong AI, predicted that by the year 2020, a normal desktop computer would have the same raw processing power as a human brain. And that would push us toward what he calls the singularity, a point where machine intelligence just explodes past our ability to even comprehend it. Now, okay, the date was a little optimistic, but the direction we're heading is unmistakable.
So, when you boil it all down, what's the big takeaway here? The struggles of data, the agony of the EMH, they're not just good TV. They are powerful, real-world warnings about what happens when we get this wrong. They show us exactly what happens when you create immense power without any wisdom to guide it.
Ultimately, Star Trek leaves us with the one question that matters more than any other. It feels pretty inevitable that we're going to keep building smarter and smarter machines. So the real question, the one we need to start answering right now, is when we finally get there, what kind of moral lessons will we have built into them? What will we have taught them about us?